Welcome to Fine Spun Tales. In this edition, we are concluding our fourth adventure with the crew of the U.S.S. Vinci. In this edition, the crew will finish their mission to rescue the Constitution-class U.S.S. Defiant from Interspace while trying to avoid a diplomatic incident with the Tholians. Let's begin. Commander Sonia Gomez stands on the bridge of the U.S.S. Defiant, feeling helpless as she observes the interdimensional rift, sealing them inside. Alongside Captain David Gold and Solomon, she watches as they become separated from the U.S.S. Da Vinci and their universe. The mission to retrieve the Defiant started smoothly, but took a turn when the Tholians discovered the ship trapped in the rift and then fired on it, causing further chaos. The Defiant, lost for over a century, presented a significant engineering challenge. Gomez and her team worked to restore power and stabilize the ship for extraction. However, the Tholians' unexpected attack disrupted their efforts, trapping the Defiant and the away team in interspace. The ship sustained minor damage, but the team is now faced with the challenge of finding a way out without the Da Vinci's assistance. Dr. Elizabeth Lenz reports an emergency. She and Patty, the team's NASAT engineer, are stranded on the ship's exterior after Patty fell into space and Lenz followed to save her. Gomez volunteers to navigate the Defiant's maintenance tubes to reach a manual airlock and help them re-enter the ship. Meanwhile, Captain Gold and Solomon work on solving the mystery of the tholian device that may have triggered the attack. Back on the Da Vinci, Kieran Duffy deals with the aftermath of the tholian attack that disabled their warp drive. Despite the urgency, Corsi reminds Duffy of his responsibilities as the commanding officer, prompting him to delegate the repairs and focus on strategizing with the team. They prepare to face the challenge ahead, including reopening the rift and potentially dealing with the Tholians again. In the briefing room, Duffy notes the presence of his team, including Carol Abramowitz, Fabian Stevens, and Bartholomew Falwell, as they discuss their mission amidst the absence of their commanding officers. Duffy reports that the warp drive is almost operational, and Stevens confirms the ship's systems are intact despite recent skirmishes with the Tholians. They deliberate on the necessary deflector modifications to reopen a rift, aware that time is crucial as the Tholians may soon return with reinforcements. Tensions rise as Abramowitz asserts they will likely receive orders to abandon the mission to preserve diplomatic relations, despite Corsi's fierce opposition to leaving their away team behind. Duffy intervenes, stressing that they must follow orders from Starfleet while doing everything possible to recover the Defiant. An incoming message from Captain Scott brings mixed news. The mission may be scrapped, but Admiral Ross supports their efforts to hold their position. Scott's subtle hints encourage Duffy to buy time for repairs, suggesting a shared understanding and support for their predicament. As the room clears, Scott privately encourages Duffy, acknowledging the pressures of command and emphasizing the importance of keeping the crew safe. Scott reveals that a diplomat is looking to blame Duffy for the situation, but he expresses confidence in Duffy's abilities. Inspired, Duffy resolves to lead his team effectively, with Scott promising to push hard to support them from his end. With only the light from her helmet to guide her, Gomez navigates through the Jeffries tubes of the Defiant. The environment suit designed for open space hinders her movement. She feels as if the walls are closing in on her, though she knows it's just her imagination. Her mission to help Lenz and Patty motivates her to press on despite claustrophobia. Gomez encounters a skeleton in a red jumpsuit blocking her path. The sight horrifies her, but she knows she must continue. She contacts Lenz, who reassures her and updates her on Patty's condition. Gathering her courage, Gomez moves forward, accidentally brushing against the skeleton, which frightens her but doesn't stop her. As she struggles past the skeleton, she becomes momentarily stuck and panics, but eventually she frees herself and exits into a corridor. She regains her composure and continues to the airlock where Lenz and Patty are. Lenz checks on both Patty and Gomez, noting that the Therigen, which protects them from interspace effects, is wearing off. Meanwhile, Duffy, aboard the Da Vinci, contemplates the futility of their attempts to open the rift that swallowed the Defiant. A beacon from the starship's deflector dish pierces the blackness, but yields no results. As frustrations mount, Duffy recalls his childhood, hoping for an encounter with alien spacefarers. Duffy's crew intercepts Tholian communications, revealing the Tholians were ordered to attack by their assembly. Duffy learns the away team found a Tholian device on the Defiant that could explain the attack. As Duffy processes this information, sensors detect 6 Tholian ships approaching, generating an energy field capable of disabling multiple starships. Faced with the imminent threat, Duffy must decide whether to hold their position and risk entrapment or retreat and lose their chance to rescue the away team. The Tholian ships are an hour away, and the crew braces for the challenge ahead. Captain Gold's log details the efforts of his crew to examine an alien object recovered from a destroyed colony. The device appears to have generated a lethal energy field around the settlement. The crew discovers that this object may explain why the Tholians were upset and theorize the Defiant crew had encountered the colony, taken the device, and tried to return it to Starfleet command, only to fall into a rift. On the Defiant, Gold and his team realize they are trapped in the rift and their power generators are failing. Gomez admits they didn't bring enough backup power, and they face the prospect of their generators dying before the next interphase. They also discover a troubling power drain affecting their systems. Solomon calculates that the next interphase is in 3 hours, but their generators will fail in 2. Gold directs the team to find a way out, focusing on the area where the rift used to be. Solomon identifies residual energy traces, suggesting they could potentially force the rift open using the ship's thrusters and warp engines. Gomez proposes using the power generators to jumpstart the warp drive, which might be enough to push the Defiant out of the rift. The plan is risky, but it could work if they act quickly. They prepare the generators and tie them into the warp drive, ready for an attempt to escape. Meanwhile, on the Da Vinci, Duffy and his team plan to use the ship's deflector to create a path through the rift. They face the imminent threat of Tholian ships closing in, intending to trap them with an energy net. Duffy tries to remain optimistic, but the situation is dire. As the Tholian ships approach, Stevens attempts to activate the deflector beam, but it fails, causing damage to the ship. With warp drive offline, Duffy heads to engineering, determined to restore power and save the crew. He leaves Corsi in command, trusting her to hold the fort while he works on the engines. Back on the Defiant, Gomez finishes preparing the generators. Despite the deteriorative effects of Interphase on the crew's health, they're ready to make their final attempt to escape. Gomez, Lenz, and Patty work together to trigger the warp drive, hoping their efforts will be enough to break free from the rift and return to their universe. On the Defiance bridge, Captain Gold receives confirmation from Commander Gomez that the modifications are complete, and they are ready to attempt to push the ship from the rift. Gold instructs Gomez to divert power from the main systems to shields and phasers, sacrificing access to the main computer and life support on the bridge. Once preparations are made, Gold gives the command, and the Defiant surges forward, the ship's warp engines, receiving a powerful burst from the away team's portable generators. The Defiant's acceleration triggers a reaction in the rift, causing intense energy to play across the main viewer and the ship's hull to groan. As the ship approaches the edge of the rift, an explosion erupts at the engineering station, sending shrapnel across the bridge. Amidst the chaos, Gold learns from Gomez that they are experiencing massive feedback from the warp pulse, causing circuit overloads. Solomon at the helm loses control as the console bursts into flames. The ship begins to phase out of interphase, revealing stars and energy streams through the hull. Realizing the danger, Gold decides to evacuate the bridge. He forces open the turbolift doors and, along with Solomon, enters the darkened turboshaft. Gomez informs him that the auxiliary control center is on deck 7, and she has started routing power there. As they make their way, the bridge undergoes decompression, with a section of the bulkhead disappearing and air rushing out. Gold pulls Solomon into the turboshaft, escaping the rapidly deteriorating bridge. Sonia Gomez and her team work urgently at the Master Systems console in main engineering, trying to divert power to essential areas of the ship. With the bridge systems inoperative and power fluctuating, Gomez orders the feed to be cut and reroutes power to crucial sections. Despite the ship's robust design, it wasn't meant to rely on small, localized power distribution. The attempt to directly tie the generators into the warp drive leads to a massive explosion, devastating the engineering room. Despite the destruction, Patty manages to reroute power to auxiliary control, keeping the ship operational. Elsewhere, Duffy works rapidly in the warp drive control system, sealing connections and rerouting circuitry paths. His quick actions are crucial as he fixes the problems caused by the deflector dish feedback loop. Duffy rushes to the bridge, eager to face the situation. Arriving breathlessly, he prepares the crew for the imminent arrival of the Tholian ships. Um, he instructs his team to get ready for a fight as the Tholians approach in a deadly hexagonal formation, connected by a powerful energy web. As the Tholians come into view, Duffy remains steadfast, refusing to let fear deter him from saving his crew. He orders a hail to the Tholians, preparing for what might be their final stand. The tension is palpable as the crew braces for the encounter, determined to protect their ship and each other against the formidable Tholian threat. David Gold and Solomon arrive at the Defiant's auxiliary control center, finding it fully operational. They activate the view screen and see that the ship is emerging from a chaotic rift, with the Da Vinci and 6 approaching Tholian vessels visible. Gold identifies a large energy reading as a Tholian energy net intended to capture the Da Vinci. Despite the Defiant's weakened state, Gold plans to use its remaining power for defense. Commander Nostrine of the Tholian ship monitors the situation, finding the Federation ship stationary and vulnerable. Despite the Tholian advantage, he acknowledges the tenacity of Starfleet crews. As the Tholians prepare to attack, the rift opens and the Defiant emerges. Though initially dismissed as powerless, the Defiant unexpectedly opens fire, disrupting the Tholian formation. Aboard the Da Vinci, Kieran Duffy is stunned to see the Defiant return and fire on the Tholians. This shifts the battle's dynamics, giving the Starfleet ships a fighting chance. Duffy orders an attack and maneuvers the Da Vinci toward the rift, utilizing the Defiant's sudden offensive to their advantage. The Defiant, despite its age and weakened state, plays a crucial role in the battle. It fires on the Tholian ships, causing significant disruption and turning the tide in favor of the Federation ships. The combined efforts of the Defiant and the Da Vinci create a hopeful situation as they face the Tholian threat together. Captain Gold commands the Defiant from the Auxiliary Control Center. Despite its age, the ship manages to fire a half-strength phaser blast that disrupts a Tholian vessel's defenses. Gold, observing the Tholians' formation, theorizes that breaking their trajectory will disrupt their energy net. His strategy works as the damaged Tholian ship breaks formation, though the remaining vessels continue their attack. Gold instructs Gomez to reroute power from the shields to the phasers, sacrificing some defenses to maintain offensive capabilities. As they brace for another attack, Gold reflects on his long career and the irony of his final mission aboard the dilapidated century-old Defiant. Despite its age and the challenges it faces, the ship emerges from years of confinement to undertake one last mission. Gold admires the ship's resilience and acknowledges the unusual nature of his assignment, embodying the unpredictable nature of a career in Starfleet. The Tholians prepare to turn on the Defiant, causing Duffy to strategize quickly. He commands the Da Vinci to engage in an unconventional maneuver, positioning the ship to fire on the Tholians. The Da Vinci's phasers hit a Tholian ship, disrupting their energy web and causing the Tholians to retreat and scatter. Duffy's team celebrates their successful defense. Duffy notices a Tholian ship losing power and heading toward the rift. He orders an intercept and uses the tractor beam to pull the ship to safety, demonstrating a willingness to aid even their enemies. Despite Corsi's concerns, Duffy decides to return the disabled ship to the Tholians as a gesture of goodwill. The Tholians, led by Commander Nostrine, demand the Federation's departure but acknowledge the aid. At space dock, Admiral Ross observes a gathering of spectators awaiting the Defiant's return. Among the crowd, Admiral Leonard McCoy reflects on the significance of the event and his readiness to assist in identifying the Defiant's crew. Ross and McCoy share a moment of respect for history and the task ahead. As the Defiant approaches, the space dock intercom signals its imminent docking, capturing the attention of everyone present. The moment symbolizes a connection to the past and a renewed respect for those who served in the Federation's early days. Captain Gold sits in his ready room aboard the Da Vinci, receiving praise from Captain Montgomery Scott for his crew's efforts. Scott is particularly excited about the opportunity to board the Defiant. Gold credits Commander Gomez and her team for resolving the Defiant's predicament, noting Gomez's role in getting the ship out of a rift and Commander Duffy's efforts to prevent a diplomatic incident with the Tholians. Scott, recognizing Duffy's quick thinking, acknowledges the challenges of command and the importance of the crew's actions in maintaining relations with the Tholians. The conversation shifts to diplomacy, with Scott mentioning the ongoing political fallout and the need for careful negotiations involving the Tholians and Klingons. Gold expresses hope that the information discovered aboard the Defiant will aid in bringing both parties to the table, emphasizing the delicate balance required to maintain the Federation's alliances. As they prepare to witness the Defiant's arrival at space dock, Gold reflects on the enduring legacy of the Defiant's crew and the potential for positive outcomes from their sacrifices. The intercom interrupts, announcing the Defiant's approach, prompting Gold and Scott to head to the bridge. With her main power plants partially restored, the Defiant no longer resembles a derelict ship. Most of her portholes are illuminated and her running lights shine against her scarred hull. Although her warp nacelles remain inactive, the ship appears almost ready for duty. Space traffic controllers are overwhelmed with the task of managing thousands of spacecraft converging on Earth to witness the return of the legendary starship. Smaller vessels, many carrying journalists, follow the Defiant, eager to capture images of her. Sonia Gomez sits in the command chair, absorbing the moment. Initially unnerved by the crowd of onlookers, she now embraces the significance of the event. The Da Vinci crew has spent days transferring the bodies of Defiant personnel into stasis containers and cleaning the ship. Captain Gold has honored Gomez by allowing her to guide the Defiant into space dock. As they near their destination, Gomez thanks her team, particularly Kieran Duffy, for their hard work. Space dock approach control hails them, and Gomez hands over control, completing her mission with a sense of pride and closure. Under the guidance of automated maneuvering systems, the resurrected starship aligns with the space dock's main entryway. Thousands of spectators in the station's observation areas and billions more watching over subspace video feeds witness the ship quietly enter the orbital facility, returning home after more than a century. Today's story ends here. This story was based on the novel Interphase Part 2, written by Dayton Ward and Kevin Dillmore. It is the fifth book in the Starfleet Corps of Engineers series. There is an affiliate link in the description to buy a copy. If you want to help us grow the channel, press the like button. If you want more tales every week, subscribe. To help us out more directly, consider buying our app Count Currency, published by Finespun Software. Count Currency is ideal for anyone who handles cash, including small business owners, waitstaff, or really anyone. Count Currency requires no network connection and takes less space on your device than a single photo. Count Currency is made for iPhone, available on the App Store. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.